Hi guys, welcome back to the Mind Matters podcast. I'm Sienna.
I'm Zoe.
I'm Zenson.
I'm Puri.
And I'm Priya.
This week's episode's topic is panic disorders.
To start, I want to give you guys a clear definition of panic disorder so we're all on the same page.
Panic disorder is an anxiety disorder characterized by unexpected and repeated episodes of intense fear.
It's accompanied by physical symptoms that may include chest pain, heart palpitations, shortness of breath, dizziness, or abdominal stress.
That we all understand what panic disorder is, let's get started with this week's episode.
On Monday, we posted Monday misconceptions on TikTok. We also posted our panic disorder intro slides on Instagram.
And that's why it's so important we do Monday misconceptions, because there's so much misinformation online, especially on social media, that we have to educate people on it.
And not only do we get to educate the people online, we get to educate our peers at our school, because for Monday misconceptions, if you haven't seen it, we go around interviewing our classmates.
Yeah, and even some of my own misconceptions were answered when I did the intro slides this week, because I realized that panic disorder is like a type of anxiety disorder, which I didn't know. And I also learned that it's so much more big than people think of it, because when you think of mental health, panic disorder can often fall under the radar. So that's why it's important we acknowledge it.
Make sure you guys check the TikTok post and the Instagram after you finish watching this podcast.
Yep. There we go. And on Tuesday, we posted the celebrity of the week. So, Puri, do you have anything to say about that?
This week's celebrity of the week was Emma Stone, and she talked about how she always had this anxiety disorder, but she didn't really know how to cope with it. But then as she got older, she learned new coping mechanisms that really helped her grow and get better through. She got over it.
Yeah.
And stay tuned for the rest of the week, because we are going to be doing interviews with teachers, along with hosting an event for affirmations where we promote mental health through bracelets and candy, and we're selling them to our peers.
Yep, because we won't be able to say that again before our next podcast. Just wanted to let everyone know that we will be doing a fundraiser and donating it to, I don't think a nonprofit. I don't know if it's been decided yet, but we will be doing that soon.
On Thursday, we also posted a quote and affirmation of the week. The affirmations are so important because it's important to give yourself self-confidence, and they really help combat these disorders.
And since we believe in that, what we're doing is we're selling bracelets and candies with an affirmation in them. So you can give them to your friend, or for yourself, you can do whatever with them. Just help each other out,
That should be coming sometimes next week.
Yeah, and also just for the pricing, we're planning to do $3 for 2 bracelets, which is a total steal, because it's you get the twin with your bestie, and also just promote mental health, which is what we're here to do.
That will be in the Commons during lunch.
Now back to the topic of panic disorders. Piece of advice that could help with panic disorders is breathing exercises or yoga or any form of meditation.
And also focusing on your breathing, and also trying to stay up on the thoughts. Some people find help in controlling their breathing and focusing on their senses and finding peace.
Oh, and I also found an interesting way to cope through our research this week. Wait, I'm going to the Instagram, but it's a type of therapy where people experience what it's like to have certain triggers of a panic attack within a concealed environment, so they can get the help that they need. And I'm gonna find the name for that soon.
We also interviewed 2 of our teachers in the school about their personal coping mechanisms when they're feeling a little down under the weather.
Okay, the type of therapy I was talking about before was interoceptive exposure therapy, which, basically simulates what it's like to have a panic disorder.
So now we have our teachers. The first teacher is Mr. Soma, and he is a history teacher.
Name and occupation.
Mrs. Soma, social studies teacher.
Could you give us some advice of your own to help individuals overcome these type of disorders?
I can only give empirical advice from what's helped me, and I think the best bit of advice that I got is control what you can control. I try to keep perspective on what is stressing me out. And a lot of times if I realize that the sun's going to come up tomorrow and there'll still be mountains and trees are still going to grow and stuff like that, the bills or the family stress or whatever it is that I'm dealing with don't seem so big anymore, because they just deal with me. So I handle it in the best way that I feel I have control over, and try to keep some healthy perspective on stressors and anxiety.
Okay, thank you.
Like Mr. Soma said, making sure that to focus on what's good in your life is really important for combating panic and stress.
And just don't worry about what happened in the past, because you can't go back and fix that. Go back in the future, because that's something you can control.
Panic disorder it doesn't ever go away, but there's a lot of ways that you can try coping and finding strategies, and it's highly treatable.
Next, we have an interview from Mrs. Hay, which is an English teacher at our school.
Name and occupation.
Christy Hay, teacher.
Could you give us some advice on your own to help individuals overcome these disorders?
I would definitely say to seek a professional's help, whether it be a licensed social worker or a psychologist or even a psychiatrist if necessary, just because sometimes talk therapy and occasionally, if necessary, medicine are things that will give you strategies to help overcome what you're dealing with. I would say to seek the advice of some social media pages. There are plenty of books out there to help offer you tools to put in your tool belt when you are having some sort of anxiety attack or even just dealing with generalized anxiety. For example, meditation, breathing strategies, possibly prayer if you're religious, exercise, eating well and sleeping well, because the way you treat your physical body often translates into your ability to cope emotionally and mentally with things.
Thank you.
Miss Hay made a very important point that everything is connected, so it's important to keep everything healthy.
And also about the professional help part, like I remember when I was completing my Be There certificate this week, that getting professional help when you need it is like a big game changer, and like needs to be like normalized more, because there's like nothing wrong with getting a therapist.
Yeah, there should be no shame, and if you ever feel like things are getting to the point where you can't handle it anymore, make sure you find somebody who you trust and tell them what's going on. Don't be afraid.
Now that we've heard some advice from multiple people, let's focus on triggers for panic disorder.
Oh, and just a list from Better Health, which is like an organization that does online therapy. It says triggers can include overbreathing, long periods of stress, activities that lead to intense physical reactions, and physical changes occurring after illness or a sudden change of environment.
Another thing it mentions is excessive consumption of caffeine, which I think is important because I feel like so many teenagers are drinking a lot of caffeine, like so much coffee in the morning and stuff.
Absolutely.
And like Celsius too. Like I know like we do it too. Like we're not like shaming people because we do it too, but I feel like that's such a big contributor to panic disorders and like panic attacks.
Yeah, especially like Panera charged lemonade, that like it makes my heart like race like a lot, which is like I had to like
No, me
withdraw
too.
from yeah, thank you.
Everyone has their own triggers, so like the ones that we're listing might not be the triggers that anyone that's listening has, but they are some of the triggers that people do actually have.
I feel like another like a really big factor is school and like work, like homework, classwork, tests, anything coming up. Like for anyone, no matter like what class you're taking, if like everyone has a different like tolerance for workloads, and they could easily get overwhelmed. And I've experienced it myself, where I had so much homework and I just like felt like really like scared and I just didn't know what to do.
Yeah, I fully agree with what Zoe said. I have a lot of stressors in school, and some of them are my classes.
Yeah, among them, definitely like APUSH, and even some of my like easier honor classes, which I thought would be easier, have like definitely been a step up from last year, which is like it was definitely a change for me, but like as a student I learned to adapt, which is like always important. If you can't adapt, but don't be afraid to seek help if necessary, or like drop a class, because like that's totally understandable.
And it's like you're not like expecting that level of like intensity, and it's like going from 9th grade to 10th grade. It's like there's like such a larger amount of workload, and plus like going from world studies to APUSH, it's like an AP class, and it's just moving so much more rigorously.
Yeah. And also, like, not even to mention, like, besides the academic changes, there's also a lot of, like, social changes that you have to adapt to, or feel like you have to do something as you get older, which is, like, of course, a topic for another day, but still very important when it comes to stress.
So something we want to do on this channel is like make sure that no one feels alone, because like we're teenagers too, we go through these things. So maybe we can like share our personal experiences if we ever had any with panic disorders. Whatever.
So a lot of you guys may feel the same, but I feel a lot of panic when I'm taking a test or before I take a test. I've worked on trying to make it better by like studying a lot and making sure I'm prepared, but there are still times where I feel a lot of panic, and especially when I'm taking it and I have nothing to do but sit there and stare at my test. I just want to also clarify that my experience when I'm taking tests and other examples, they're not from somebody who has panic disorder, so my stress that I was feeling is not nearly as much as someone who has actually been diagnosed.
Yeah, we just want to like normalize like being stressful, but of course like if you like panic disorder is like a whole different thing. We just want to like dive into it on the surface level so like we can understand what we're talking about.
An example of a time where I felt stressed was like I have 2 jobs, and I take like Puri said, I take APUSH and like other honors classes, and I'm also in clubs after school, including HOSA of course and softball.
Women in STEM.
Yeah. So that's just like, sometimes it's really stressful for me because that's a lot of work. It's not easy to do that, but I know it will benefit me in the future, and it has been benefiting me, so I'm not gonna quit at any of those because I am passionate about them. But yeah, it's just sometimes really overwhelming and really stressful for me. I just want to say that our experiences that we're talking about right now are more anxiety related, not really panic disorder, considering we don't have it. But a difference between panic disorder and anxiety is that panic disorder is a branch of anxiety disorder, which is a broader term.
And panic disorder is also like sudden, like you can't like control like when you get these panic attacks, which is why it's so important that we talk about them.
Okay, so that wraps up our conversation for today. Thank you to all the teachers that participated, and be sure to continue to listen to our podcast.
Thank you so much for listening. Bye.